Hey everybody, in this section we're going to be talking about bills, how to enter bills, how to pay bills, and a couple different ways we can do those type of actions within the system. So we are going to start out in the expenses section over here. And we have the ability to enter a new transaction using this button. You can enter a bill. Or you can come over here to the new plus button, same thing, enter a bill, check, or expense, and we'll go through all of these as we go. So let's start just with an expense. So hit the expense, and this is usually where I go when I want to enter an expense for a credit card. So something I purchased, maybe at a Home Depot. And you're going to enter your vendor. Now you're going to select your payment account here, and this is going to give you your options, your bank accounts and other assets, but this is where you're going to select your credit card, the date that you made the payment, which should be on the receipt, or that you made the purchase. Payment method, we're just going to select credit card. Usually there is some sort of reference number on a lot of these invoices, like a Home Depot and Lowe's especially will have an invoice number of some sort on there, so I like to reference that number there. Now the category is going to be general maintenance and supplies because we purchased a new faucet and it cost us $85. And for this particular purchase, we're going to use the class setup. So the class was 7619 Southwest 19th Street. And then if you need to split it, so let's say that there are multiple things on this invoice. Let's say you bought a faucet and then maybe, I don't know, office paper. So we can split this here. Oops. And there I selected office supplies. And on this particular deal, we're not going to assign a class because it is not associated with a property. And then from there, we just hit save and close or save. And if you want, and I would recommend this, if you have a digital copy of the receipt, you can drag and drop that receipt right here. Okay. Okay, another type of expense we can put in is a bill. So let's say we get let's see who our vendors are here. Drain King. We will use a Drain King, a drain cleaning company, and on the invoice it'll have the bill date, it'll have the due date, and then you're going to enter their invoice number, whatever that may be. And then Drain King is automatically defaulted to drain cleaning as their category, but if it's something else, you can change it here. And then we are cleaning out the main sewer line, or they did clean out the main sewer line, and they charged us $175. Let's just say that was for $76.19 as well. Now, if it was that's the class setup, but let's say that we're going to do this as setting up, the other way we set up the property using tenants or customers. Then what you can do is you can come in here and select your property this way. So we can do 1, 2, 3 any street, and then again that'll serve as the same purposes as the class. And then of course we have the class warning field up here, which we have set up in our preferences. Okay, let's see what else we have here. We did a bill, we did an expense, a check. Let's just say you want to write a check out to somebody, and for this purposes, let's say that we're just going to write a check out. We didn't put the invoice in or whatever else. Maybe we received the invoice and didn't want to put the invoice in. We wanted to pay it immediately, so we will do Drain King again here as an example. Now remember to select the right bank account here, and it should be defaulted to your operating account, but this is where the check is going to come out of. This is auto-filled, your payment date, I always have these as print later. And we'll go through on how to print checks out. So for this particular deal, again, we're doing drain cleaning. Let's do a different amount on this transaction. And let's use, since we used 123 Any Street last time, let's want to use 7619 for this transaction. And then again, you can drag and copy that attachment, that invoice over here, and that'll link that. So whenever you see that expense, if you drill into the expense on your income statement, you'll be able to see the actual invoice. So it provides and stores your source documents, your proof of the expense. Now, vendor credit, if you do a payables type system to where you take invoices and pay invoices, and sometimes there may be a credit, and this is where you would enter your vendor credits here. So it works just like a bill, really. So on that 123 Street, let's say that you overpaid that bill, or their invoice was wrong, the amount you paid was too much, and they sent you a credit. So what we do here is, again, just like with a bill, we enter the vendor, and we'll enter a new date there. We enter the reference number of the credit, and we got a credit on that, so we want to credit it to the account that it was billed to, which in this case was drain cleaning. And we use these guys, so next time we have a bill, there will be a credit on here. Let's say they overdid $25, and this was for 123 Any Street. And then we save. So later on when we go to pay bills, like the next time we have a bill and let's say it's $125, that credit will show up. So then we can click that credit and we can pay out the remainder $100 there, and it'll clear that payables out of the system. And then pay down credit card. The way that I pay credit cards is when the time comes, I'll reconcile the credit card account, and then all I do is I just go in and I cut a check, and I will write the check to the vendor. Just set that up real quick. And it'll come out of this bank account, and everything else will be, if the mailing address is set up correctly, here's your payment date, and check will be printed later. But what we're going to do here is we will send this check or credit it to the city credit card, and what that does is it reduces the balance on the credit card. And we're not going to associate this with a tenant or a class because it's not directly linked. This is part of the business finances here. Okay, now there's another thing I want to show you here, which is pretty nice. Let's go over to banking. This is another way that you can get bills into the system. And so you go to your banking tab and you go up here to receipts. So let's say I get a bill from this Nextiva, and this is for phone. Okay, so what you do is you grab the image of the bill, and this has to be a JPEG or a PNG file. It cannot be a PDF. And we're going to drag and drop it right into this upload. And then as you can see, it brings us into the queue that it's processing, and it's pulling information into this receipt. Now, another way to do this is you can use an email. If you set up a receipt email, you can put like receipts at whatever your domain name is, and whatever receipts you forward to that email will show up in this processing queue. And then they also have a mobile app, which is pretty nice because you can open up the app and you can do the select photo and just take a picture of that receipt, and that will pull that from the app and bring it into this processing queue as well. Now, when that's done processing, what will happen is it will show up down here in the batched actions, and you can review. And from here, you can enter that bill information. So this is actually an invoice that we need to pay. But if this was like a Home Depot receipt or something along those lines, you can select receipt. Or like I said, this is a bill, so we're going to select bill. The payee here, and I don't have them in there, but we're just going to add them real quick. Again, normally what I would do is I would enter all their billing information because eventually I'm going to have to pay these guys. So I'd want to set up this vendor right from this screen. And then we're going to find the bill date, which here's your invoice date. It says September 17th. This is going to be, we'll say due upon receipt. The category is our ledger accounts, and this is for telephone. I'm going to enter the total amount, and then any other memo if you want it. And then I'll let you link to a customer or a class if it has something to do with that. So this is a normal business transaction, so it doesn't actually link to any particular property. But if this, let's say this bill was for a drain cleaning, as an example, you would link it to your properties using one of these fields. And then you're going to enter your bill number. And this is typically the invoice number that will be on here. Now, not all bills are going to have invoice numbers. Like this one here has an account number, and the utility bills often have account numbers. And what I do to enter bill numbers in those situations, let's see, it's 354. I will enter the account number, and then the month and the year. And then I keep this format for all these going forward, because what happens is if you just enter the account number without this differentiator, one, you don't know if it's the same invoice and you don't want to pay duplicate invoices, but two, it should flag you that it's a duplicate invoice in the system. And so by doing this, it allows you to recognize that this is a separate invoice. And this is important with utilities as well, because most utility companies just have account numbers. They don't have invoice numbers. Then you hit your save and next. And if there is a match in the system, like if it was downloaded or for some reason it's in there, it would say there's a match here, but there is not. So what we're going to do here is go on and just create this bill. And it's done. It's loaded in the system. Okay, so once we have bills in the system that we need to pay, then what we do is we go over here to expenses. Yeah, we can go here and print checks here. Actually, those are pay bills. Yeah, there we go. Print checks, the down arrow, and pay bills. That's one way to do it. Again, I like to go up here to the new button oftentimes and just go directly to the screen. And what we're going to do here is we're going to select all the bills that need to be paid. So we're going to start off with the account that we're going to pay the bills out of. In this case, it's going to be the operating account, the date that we're actually paying the bills. And then the starting check number would be here. If we're handwriting them, we can put the check number in. If you started it, whatever it is. If you're manually doing this and you're not printing them, then the check number will correspond with the way that these are printed out. So if you click 1, 2, 3, it's going to be check number 10, 10, 10, 11, and 10, 12. For us, we're going to hit print later. And I'm going to pay Rental Management Solutions. I'm going to pay Westar Energy, and that's all I want to pay today. And then there's, again, you see no credit applied here, payment, and then the total amount. And then if we do decide we want to use that credit, like for example, we know we have that $25 credit over here with Drain King, we can select that and the credit will automatically apply. And then there's your payment for a total amount of $175. So let's go on and do that as well and see what that looks like when we print that check out. And then down here you have your current account balance, your total payments, and new account balance. From here, We can save and print, save and close, schedule payments online is one of the options here. But let's go to, if we go save and print, it'll take us right to the check printing area. But let's go to that area in a different way. So let's save and close here. And once you save and close, those bills are paid, but now we need to print the checks. So again, from the expense section, expenses, you can print checks. And let's check this new area. And yep, under vendors, you can print checks as well here. And I do not have my checks really set up here. So let's see if it'll let us do that. We have a voucher, checks went into it, yes. Okay, good. So here are all the checks that we have generated. If you remember, we cut that manual check to Citibank to pay the credit card payment down. This check is from a different transaction, and then we paid Drain King just as a check in a different transaction. But here's the bill payments that we did, the 3 that we just selected. So these are all on here. So let's just pay these. And we start out, we have our operating account up here. And then these are just sort and show all checks. And here's where you put your starting number. I've never printed a check out of the system, so let's just put our starting check number here. And then once that is taken care of and we have our checks that we want to print, then we are going to go to preview and print. And what this does is this prints it out on a PDF so that it matches whatever stock check you have. So you're going to put your blank checks in the printer. And let's just scan these real quick here. Again, here's our rental management solutions. Let's go take a look at that credit. This is check number 2 for Westar. And you remember how I was telling you the account number and then the month and the dates. That's an example of the reference number for a utility bill. And then Drain King. So this is the one where we have the vendor credit. So this is what the check that they would receive would look like. They would get $150. They reference, or they would get the breakdown of where that came from, and they would see the bill would be $175, and then there would be a credit applied of $25, making it $150 is what they receive. So it looks like I missed the reference number on the bill here, but they would be able to know what bill. Normally the reference number would be right here. So whatever invoice we were paying, they would know to apply this credit to that invoice and then this check to that invoice, so it would clear our account. And then from there, you just hit print. It'll send it to the printer. And then once you print it, it's going to ask, yes, they all printed correctly, or no, keep it in a queue list, or you need to reprint from there. And you can start whatever number. You can do whatever number you need to reprint, because things do happen sometimes with those with the printers and the checks. Okay, and down here under the print checks is where we can set up the printer. Again, this, if you order these from Intuit, it's very clean, but wherever you order from, if you just tell them what system you're working with, you'll be able to get the right voucher, or you can get the standard checks too, which print 3 checks to a page. And there's just a print sample, so if you need to make some edits, you can do this here. And then once you're done, just finish with a setup. Again, it's pretty easy, really. It's really plug and play. Okay, so that's what I have for the bill sections and how to enter bills, how to use that receipt capture function, and how to print checks.